just before I get started here, just one more time, if you could just type a 1 in the chat box, make sure you can see everything and hear me. I want to make sure everything's good there. Just give me another response really quickly. 1 1s. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And let me go ahead and get this big screen on here. Boom, we're ready. Okay, so welcome to the kallzu coaching call for the December 8th, 2015. Oh my goodness, it just seemed like yesterday it was the beginning of 2015. Where did it all go? So, okay, so the format is, and this is a newer format than what I've done in the past in here, but so give me feedback if you like it or don't after the webinar. But in the beginning of this, I really think that what you do in one area of your life, you do in all. You can't really compartmentalize things. You can't compartmentalize, weight loss. You can't compartmentalize opening a business. You can't compartmentalize having a better relationship. What you do in one area of your life, you do in all. And I think a lot of people fail in certain areas of their life because they try to compartmentalize. It's like they try to separate it. And in fact, a really good friend of mine, Chris Munch, we were on the phone today, and he challenged me that. He watched a video where I mentioned that what you do in one area of your life, you do in all. And he was like, yeah, bullshit. And so he went out and did some research, and he found out indeed, and he shared the documents with me that that CEOs of successful companies and startup companies are really fit. How about that? So he said, yes, I do agree with you. And then we went on to talk about some really interesting things about that, but that's for another topic. So what I'm going to share with you is kind of like, whatever's on my mind on that. I do practice what I preach, and I do encourage everybody to wake up every morning to spend at least 5 minutes just meditating, relaxing, calming the mind, and then just immediately when you're done with that, spend 20 minutes. Get on Kindle and start reading. Learn to train and focus the mind. That's just a perfect way to start the day. So with that, I want to share a quick topic with you, and then we'll dive right into the questions. We got a ton of really good questions coming in this week. So it's going to be a busy coaching call. So, all right. So I want to, let me go back. Where is that? There we go. Okay. So I want to have a kind of a frank conversation with everybody here about what it takes to become motivated to achieve your goals. Now, a lot of people have asked me, look, I wasn't able to achieve any goals until I was 41 years old, and I did the transformation contest. And really from there, everything just completely turned around 180 degrees, not just physically, but financially and just on all single levels. So I know a few things about motivation. I know a lot of things about not being motivated. So these are some of the things I want to share with you really quickly, and then we'll get on to the questions at hand on that end of it. So, what does it really take to become motivated to achieve your goals? More importantly, to stay motivated. And your goals might be to, lose unwanted fat, start a business, get a girlfriend, get a boyfriend, self-development, happiness, travel, start a online business, whatever it is on this end of it, I'm going to share with you and teach with you my opinion. It's just my opinion of what it takes to get there. And it's just based off of my experience. You know how you get that kind of feeling where you're kind of motivated to achieve a goal, but then sometimes you don't. We're going to talk about here on how to stay motivated, because what happens is that people have these moments of when they're motivated and they make themselves promises and they're going to do something, and then those kind of disappear right away. So what I find really interesting about motivation is just how many people, including myself in the past, just completely suffer from it. What happens is that you let your higher self, I'll just call it your higher self on here, that allows you to really think about the things in your life that you're possible of doing. It's kind of in those moments where you're thinking, you know what, I can do this. You get really inspired. It's like you see a picture of somebody really fit, maybe before and after picture or something like that, and you think, man, I can do that too. And it's in that moments when your higher self believes you can do it, and then you make that commitment to yourself that you can actually go out and achieve these goals. Maybe it's weight loss, or maybe it's opening up a new business or whatever. But Then the next day rolls around, or even a couple of hours later, or even a couple of minutes, and you no longer have the drive to do so. So an example. An example is maybe you got really inspired. You're in this higher self, present state of mind, and you say, I've been 40 pounds overweight. I don't like it. I don't there's like this belly pushing out. I got motivated by seeing these photos or reading an article or video or whatever, and you've determined that you're going to start eating better. You're going to start going to the gym, and then what happens is that maybe you stick with that for a couple of days or a couple of hours, and then you go out with your friends, right? And you go out with your friends, and you're like, I'm committed to this. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to go out with my friends and have fun. I can create a balance in my life. I don't have to give in. And then after a few hours of hanging around and having fun, you're back into the old swing of things. And then your friends are like, hey, let's all go out for pizza. Yeah, let's order pizza. There's a sale on pizza, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, no, I don't really want any. And then they're like, whatever. And they order it, and the smell is around. And then you just say, screw it. I'm just going to have a piece of pizza. And then at that moment, when that pizza actually touches the end of your tongue, this is a really powerful moment. That motivation is 10 times, no, 100 times more powerful than the motivation that you had previously about, that you wanted to lose the weight. You want to get down, and you completely get overtaken by it. So I'm sure we can all relate to that, right? So let's say that you want to become, say, for example, more successful in an online business, okay? And say that you're going to say, okay, you know what? I work a regular job during the week, and I'm going to start working on my online business over the weekend. And same kind of similar situation as the pizza situation with your friends. The weekend comes and kind of your old habits become more motivating than your end goal. And so you end up going back in old habits. Maybe it's, hanging out with friends, watching TV games, going to the mall with the kids or whatever. You just fall back into it. And that initial feel becomes more motivating than what you felt during the week of, how much your job sucks and how you've got a potential opportunity here to work on your online business. So the biggest problem is that you have moments of inspiration. That's what I was trying to give an example of these moments of inspiration, which you keep those in your life, and you start thinking about those kind of situations. It was like, man, if only I could keep motivated, my life would be amazing, right? I mean, how many times have we restarted that wheel over here? And then quickly those moments of inspiration just kind of go away. And my personal experience and what I've seen in other people is it just literally rips them apart because they just go over this cycle over and over again. I know I did. I did for 41 years. Tried to quit drinking, tried to start a job. I swore I was going to start over the next week or on Monday. I got inspired to do something, but it just those moments of inspiration just failed, and they didn't go through on that end of it. So what I would like to see really on this is I'd like to see other people just succeed. The only reason I'm sharing this is I just want to see other people succeed. For whatever it's worth, I just think it would make the world a better place. But I can really relate to how kind of haunted I used to be by seeing other people succeed. They just kind of go, go, go. And it's like, man, they're born from a different cloth. I mean, why are they succeeding and I'm not? And then I would either look up to these other people and put them up on a pedestal, or I would have another reaction, which is natural. I would envy them or hate them, or even I would rationalize that, hey, they can't be really doing this. They must be gaming the system somehow and, ripping people off and scamming them, just to rationalize my own pitiful situation. So anyways, so first, I think we really need to understand that you are not who you think you are. Okay. I know it sounds kind of weird, but you're not who you really think you are. You're actually a bunch of different type of personalities. I mean, we are complex people, right? So what happens is that when you're confronted with certain situations, it stimulates you and it draws out different personalities or personas in yourself. So this is why you might make an agreement with yourself and then later on you don't stick with it. So you might get stimulated by being motivated by going to an event or watching a video or reading a story, and then that will draw out kind of your higher self, your self that kind of feels like, hey, I'm invincible, I can do anything, I can do this. And then you commit to doing it, and then later on, you end up going out with your friends or something, and you fall back into the old self. So I really think that we have different sides to ourselves, and I'm just going to call them kind of your higher self, which is what I referred to before, your day-to-day self, and then your lower self. So you want to think about your higher self as your highest aspirations. It's the side of yourself that wants to become the best and offer the most to the world. It's that feeling of inspiration. It's those moments where you feel like you can do it. You can really do anything. That's your higher self, okay? And then there's their day-to-day self. You want to, just take care of day-to-day things. Just pay your bills, pay your mortgage, eat, just go have fun with your friends. It's just the day-to-day stuff. Have good sex. It's just your day-to-day kind of stuff, and that's a different kind of self that you have. And then you have your lower self. And we all have these three levels, okay, at all times, no matter what, unless, of course, you're enlightened or something, and then you wouldn't. But, that doesn't fit myself or anybody on the call, right? So your lower self is kind of your pity self. And unfortunately, it's where a lot of people kind of hang out. And it's that feeling where you kind of want to show up that guy that, didn't show you any respect, or you want to kind of show up that teacher that thought, you were never going to amount to anything, or maybe you wanted to show up that girl or that guy who hurt you in a relationship and you want to show them up. Or maybe you have those feelings and you kind of feel like, man, when I get rich, I'm going to drive around this fancy car and everyone's going to see me. And it's that kind of lower self on that. So those three on the thing. What you kind of need to understand is that at any time, we're all at one of these three levels. During any time of the day, of the week, hour, we can fluctuate on here. So the point is that when you make a goal, you want to really align your higher self, your day-to-day self, and your lower self towards the same goal. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? You have those kind of three different levels of yourself. You want to make sure that you align all three of those with your goal. That way, as you're shifting in and out of your different selves and your feelings and your emotions and your states that you're in, you're always able to stay aligned, and they're all pointed in the same directions. So let's say, for example, that you would like to think about getting out of a job that you hate, or making more money, or being, 30 or 50 pounds overweight, and you want to get out of that job, you want to lose that weight. You would think that would be motivation enough, right? It's like, Jesus, I'm 40 pounds overweight, my belly's hanging over my pants, I'm at a job that I hate. You'd think that would be motivation enough to get people to lose weight and to get out of the job. But hey, let's be honest. Clearly it's not, because there's just the majority is in that situation, right? Or if not one of those situations, if not both, one of those situations. So what would be a higher self motivation? Let's start there. And I'll talk about me for a minute on that. So for me, my higher self motivation, what really motivates that higher self, not the day-to-day, not the lower self, but the higher self, is that for me, when I look at opening a business and online business, and I corely believe that what you do in one area of your life, you do in all. I also believe that you rarely succeed beyond your personal growth. So for me, opening an online business and being successful at it also means improving my social skills. It means because in order to run and operate a successful business, I need to have good social skills. I need to have good communication skills. And this is an area that I've always wanted to improve in. I grew up a very shy kid. My background is that I stuttered in school. I never developed kind of the normal social skills that kids do, just interacting with other kids and, talking with other kids. I was always isolated out because I had a really severe stuttering problem. And I just never developed that. I was always on the outcast. I was always the kid that you just kind of never spoke to in school. So I had a really rough upbringing. There's a lot of other things that went on too, but so this allows me to become a better person, which allows me to offer more value to my family, my kids, and my friends. I mean, anytime that you're developing as a person and you're pushing yourself out there, you're becoming more valuable. You're becoming a better part of yourself, and you're offering. Therefore, you just inherently offer more to others. So this makes me a better role model for my kids. It teaches me all kinds of things. I mean, opening up an online business is, a lot of people just think out as just open an online business, learn SEO, or learn paid marketing, learn how to train VAs, and that's just like, yeah, that's all the mechanics of it. But let's talk about the brains and the person behind it who's actually running it. And so, this has really taught me to become free of outcomes and stay present in the moment, teaching me to be a better person on that. So there's a lot of personal growth aspects that I think are required to operate and run a successful business. And so I would challenge you to kind of think about running and starting your online business, is that this is an opportunity to face your fears. This is an opportunity to face maybe some of your social and personal growth weaknesses, and that you've got to tap into those. And this is a perfect opportunity to do it. And really, quite frankly, it's those are the bigger benefits rather than just, people think, the money, the freedom, all that. Yeah, all those things are good, but those just meet the day-to-day stuff. They don't meet the higher self. So becoming successful online for me is been probably one of the most challenging things I've done, besides my personal transformation, overcoming addiction and food addictions. It's really become one of the most challenging things that I've done. It's given me so much in return, and really sounds kind of corny, but I think that my kind of higher self just kind of smiles when I'm working and I'm doing my business, because it challenges me on so many other different levels. It's not just about the work. So, all right. So let's move into the kind of day-to-day self. So, I like to be able to pay my bills. Being completely 100% debt-free is just an amazing feeling. I know what it was like for 41 years to be in debt constantly. I'm completely debt-free. The freedoms to travel, send my kids to private schools, live anywhere basically we want. So it's important as a person, as a man, as a father, that I'm self-sufficient and free, and that's your day-to-day self. So that's my motivation there. Now my lower self, which kicks in every day, just like everyone else. It's there. You got to acknowledge it, and you got to leverage off of it, right? So, maybe others it doubted me or doubt you, and you have something to prove. Maybe you want to validate others. Maybe you want their approval, or maybe you want revenge for all those people who picked on you in school or whatever, or maybe a stepfather who, was verbally abusive and told you couldn't do things. So I know for the lower self that those things don't sound very healthy to kind of tap into, yet I really believe that they can be really good kind of short-term motivators. And so why the hell not tap into that energy? So the point is, if you want to align your higher self, your day-to-day self, and your lower self, which will oscillate back and forth every day, depending on the person. They do with all normal people. And you want to point them all in the same direction. Okay. So, I would challenge you to think of reasons why your higher self, your day-to-day self, and your lower self, why you want to operate a successful online business or lose weight or travel or whatever your goals are on that. And then whatever your state of mind is in, it becomes very clear what you need to do, whether you're a lower self state of mind or day-to-day or your higher self. Now, your lower self, your pity self, your kind of little worm self, can be a really good starting point. I don't hear enough people talk about this because it's usually kind of what's most prevalent, because most people live in that state for the majority of the time. So, you may want to prove to others that doubted you. And this can be very, very motivating. Let's be honest about it. It certainly was for me. And then what is the con to this? What's the other side of it, of this lower self motivation? Well, it's the fact is that this is a very short-lived. It doesn't last, but it does give you a short burst of energy in the beginning to get started on that. Because what happens is, as once you start to receive and you achieve your goals, then it's like, that's enough. You've already achieved it. You've already proven you can do it, and you're kind of done. And that's where the day-to-day self and the higher self motivations and tapping into those help prolong and keep you going. So the day-to-day stuff is paying bills, mortgages, sex, food, just the day-to-day kind of raw stuff. It's good because it motivates you to be responsible, to take care of yourself, to take care of your family. The problem is that they say, maybe you've heard me say this before, is that the enemy of the best is good. So once you've established the basics, and I'll talk about this in other videos or some other venue on that end of it, because it's a huge, huge topic, and I've been in and out of this. But once you've established kind of the basic needs covered, it kind of loses the day-to-day motivation. So your first motivation, the lower self, can get you started. You should tap into it. That's the first one to kind of go away. The second one is the day-to-day. Once you've reached and you have a certain potential, and you've reached it, and you have the money and stuff coming in, then all those kind of basic needs are met, and then you can kind of back off. But your higher self is the best of all of them for long-term development. And this is the one you should really be focusing on. You should leverage on the other two. There's no doubt about it. You have to acknowledge it, so that you're fluctuating in and out, that you're able to stay in alignment with what your goals are. But if you really take focus of yourself and you see what it does for other people, this is in your higher self, and your sense of identity is not just tied to you, okay, which is what we've really all been talking about so far, but and everything that you see and do around you. Everything that you do is really tied around to everything that you're around. Everything that you're around you, you affect it. Because whether you decide to be a productive, amazing human being, or you decide just to be mediocre or status quo, you affect everyone around you in either situation. You're not isolated. You're not compartmentalized, okay? So when you can take in this sense of kind of larger concerns that are beyond yourself, you start doing things, not just how it affects you and your lower self and your day-to-day self, but how it affects your community, your family, your kids, everybody you come in contact with, okay? Everybody you come in contact with, the person you are and what you're doing affects everybody and everything. It really, really does. Okay, so all three sources of motivation, bottom line here, are good. Okay, there is no, the lower, even though I kind of put it down, it's good. You want to leverage in on that. Everybody should leverage in all of that. You should be aware of the longevity of each. Obviously, the lower self has the shortest, but it can give that short spike to get going. The day-to-day has a second. Of course, the longest longevity is the higher self on here. So I want to leave you just with a couple of few thoughts here, and then we'll wrap into the questions on that. I kind of feel like I've rambled on too long with this, but it's an old Tony Robbins concept, okay? And he called it OPA or OPA. It's outcome, purpose, and action. outcome, let's give an example of outcome. Outcome would be, I want to lose 15 pounds of fat and gain 2 pounds of muscle. That's the outcome. Okay. What's my P, my purpose, outcome, purpose, and action. My purpose is, my higher self is to be a good role model to my kids, to inspire others to take care of their own health. That's my higher purpose self. My day-to-day self would be, I'm doing this because I want to get, some anti-aging effects. I want to increase my testosterone and my HGH, which exercise clearly does when you lower your body fat. And then my lower self motivation would be because I want to look good with my t-shirt off, right? So those are the 3 different levels on that, based on that kind of outcome goal, outcome or goal is really what it is. So here's what gets really interesting. And you really want to start kind of thinking about how each of these kind of web out and really start to, it's not so isolated with you. So let me just show you how this kind of webs out. So with this one example here of losing some fat and gaining just a few pounds of muscle on here, I do this because I want to be a good role model to my kids. That's kind of a higher self. But when they grow up in a household like that, where their father is fit and exercising and watching what he's eating and stuff, how will that affect them? How does that affect their day-to-day actions? How does that affect their future? Okay. Their decisions, maybe when they get into, those kind of troubled teenage years. I shouldn't call it troubled teenage years. Just those teenage years, to drink or do fast foods or drugs or stuff. How is that going to affect their decision process? Okay. You kind of see how that webs out. It's not just about you. Your actions indirectly affect everybody around you. I don't need to be shouting at the top of the hill, hey, you need to stay fit and healthy, blah, blah, blah. It's just hang around me. I will say nothing about it. You will be affected by it, period. And especially my, people who live in my household, that see me again in the morning, drinking, or in the afternoon, drinking green juices and stuff like this. They just grow up, and that's going to affect them. So that's got to be part of my motivation on that end of it. So, my day-to-day self looks at it and say, you know what, I'm gonna lose the weight, gain a little bit of extra muscle mass on here, not much, just a little bit, so I can have more energy. And how will this affect how I engage with others? Well, it's gonna raise my testosterone levels. That's a proven fact. It's gonna affect my sexual relationship with my wife. And you can kind of see how this is going to web out here. It's going to web out. It's going to affect, once you have someone and their energy levels are higher and their hormones are in balance and everything, and they're just alive and more, they're more engaging in the world, and they're going to affect others in a positive way in there. So let's kind of look at this from how a normal person, has kind of had a hard work day, and they had the same goal. They're like, I want to lose some weight, gain a little bit of muscle mass. Who doesn't want to look and feel healthier, right? Everyone does, but not everyone does. So like a normal person will look at this and say they had a really long day, and they're tired, and they really feel like they want to rest now. And so it's like resting now would feel really good, versus going to the gym and working out because they had that original goal that they wanted to lose 15 pounds of fat and gain a couple of pounds of muscle. And they're like, nah, I'm too tired. I've worked an 18-hour day. I'm just going to go to sleep. So in that situation, and that's the normal situation, okay, that's that struggle, that painful feeling that everybody feels. That's not enough motivation, versus, well, I'll go to the gym and I have all these webs of things that were going to happen. I'm going to inspire others. I'm going to affect my kids' future on here. I'm going to look younger. I'm going to have more energy. So I'm going to be more profitable in my business. I'm going to have better sex life on this because I'm healthier. I have more energy. My testosterone levels are higher on that. Then that will happen. So So then you're just kind of drawn to the gym. It's like, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm motivated, I'm committed, I'm going to do this because you have all these other reasons that you've thought out on that. So I guess in closing here, I really want you to realize that motivation itself is a true gift. It really is. When you have motivation, it's like the best present and gift you could possibly give yourself. And if you want to put yourself in the situation to help and support others, I would encourage you to really examine the 3 different levels of yourself. It's every self that we've kind of fluctuate in and out all day long, and align yourself with your goals on all 3 levels, so you're always prepared and you're always aligned with what you need to do. I hope that makes sense. And then other little things you can do, which have really helped me out. And I learned this stuff from this particular thing in here is a great one. These tips are awesome. These last ones I'm going to give you are totally awesome. And these I learned directly from being a part of the transformation community with Bill Phillips. And that is, make your motivations, after you've clearly set them out and you've looked at how that webs out and affects everybody, it's you're not compartmentalized. Every action you do, everything you do affects yourself and your life and people around you. Is that make public declarations about what your goals are going to become. This is really powerful on this. So for example, if you wanted to lose weight and get in shape because it's going to help you better in business, it's going to help you on so many areas in your life we've already talked about, then right now go out and find a half a marathon or a full marathon that's in 6 months from now. And you've maybe never ran one in your entire life. Sign up now. Pay the $100 or $150 entry fee and just do it. And then publicly announce on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and whatever you can to your friends and everything, hey, I just signed up for this half marathon, this full marathon in 6 months, and I'm going to do this thing. I've never run it before, but I'm just going to do it. That will give you the motivation to go through with it, okay? Or other little things you can do is you can give your friends like $200 or $300, and you can say, hey, I'm going to give you this money, but don't give it back to me until, I do something that my goal is set. I've set that I'm going to lose 15 pounds by a certain date or something like that. But these things really help you out. So anyways, okay, so enough of that stuff. So let me get into the questions on here. And we'll take a look at those. Let me just check the chat box really quickly, make sure that we're still connected and I haven't been talking to myself and all that kind of good stuff. Cool. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so my screens maybe haven't changed on here. That's okay. That's why we have a replay. So I'm going to march right into the questions on this end of it. So we'll get back into the nitty gritty of it. And this is there's some really good questions. And by the way, if you send in your questions, if your questions I thought were just kind of more wouldn't benefit the group as a whole, I just answered it personally and emailed it back to you. And for the questions I thought would benefit, let's say the masses, that's where you'll see it on the screen here. So just FYI. So how many businesses should be providing the services before building our lead gen sites? This is a really good question. And I appreciate whoever sent it. You know who you are. And so the question really derives from, okay, I've done my data research. It's got the right number of clicks to it. It's got a good demand to it. It's got a number of searches to it. The competition is fairly low from an SEO perspective. And I could expand this out to 10, 15, 20 cities because I've already explored them as well. So this looks like a really viable market. So the next question you really should be asking yourself is, are there enough businesses basically in each market that you could be providing this to? So in other words, maybe, whatever niche it is, maybe there's only 2 businesses in that whole city that would even be interested in the niches. And would that put yourself in a vulnerable position? And I think it's a really good question to ask. Although it's a great question, but at the same time, it's not something that everyone needs to concern themselves with. And the reason is because if you type in, whatever niche you're in and you're doing the research, and you see, 10, 11, I think it's 11 now, 11 Google AdWords up, that means there's a minimum of 11 businesses in that area that want those leads that you're going to be providing. So the first factor is that as you're typing in, are there 3 Google AdWords, on the top? And then, I think it depends on the area. They're always playing around with this stuff. Is there, 9 or 10 or 7 on the side? And in other words, is there at least 10 people, 10 different businesses in that area advertising for that keyword that you just punched in? If yes, then you got no problems. You're going to have plenty of people that you can offer your leads to that are currently advertising and understand the value of it. If, however, you punch in your keywords and you're looking at a city and there aren't hardly any Google AdWords, there's only maybe 3 or 4, then you may want to look a little bit closer to it. But I would say at a bare minimum, there needs to be 5 businesses, although that's going to be so minimal that you'd rarely run into that. The only time you're going to run into that is when the populations are like 125,000 and less. And I don't even recommend that. I recommend, at least 150,000 or more. And if you're looking, particularly in the United States, if you're looking, there's easily 15, 20, 25 cities that are above 200,000. So that's normally not going to be an issue. But I'd say bare minimum of 5. I'd say easily everyone would find 10 or more. So good question. Good thing to, kind of question out there. And I do appreciate it. So let's go on to the next one on here. Where can we find good sources of content? So it's kind of a 2 question starts on here. So what is your recommended done for you type of articles? And then also, how do you find good VAs and training on that? I've got a good YouTube video of a recent event that I was invited to go to in Hong Kong. And I talked about KPIs, key performance indicators. Every person there paid $750 to attend. It was sold out on that, so you can go watch it for free. Everyone else had to fly to Bangkok and stuff. But I would encourage you to do that, watch that. But there's some kind of misconceptions I kind of want to get out of the way here that I think is prevalent in the society. And it's part of the kind of the group think. I'll do another kind of rant video about group think. But there's this idea out there that and it's fairly prevalent, especially in the IM kind of industry or people getting started online, is that that you should really look to hire a VA, and then there's this assumption that the VA is going to just kind of, run your business and just kind of, write your articles and do your SEO, and you're just going to sit back and relax and on the beach and drink margaritas. You know what? That's just not freaking reality. Okay. That's just not the way it happens. And the way that I've always talked about it, especially with VAs, is you're the CEO of your business. You have to know every aspect and every job responsibility of your business so that you can teach it. Well, first you have to know it. So in order to know it, you've got to do it. And then once you get to the point to where you do it and you're expert at it, now you're ready to train someone else to do it. It doesn't happen the other way, where you just take a VA from the Philippines, which is normally the most popular place, and then say, here's my access code, my username and password to a course, study it, and then go do it. It doesn't work that way. I couldn't make it that work way. I just don't see people do that. You have to know your business. So I would say that, in the beginning, you need to know your business. You need to understand it. You personally need to know. You need to know how to do the SEO. You need to understand the struggles and what it takes to do it. Same with the content writing on here. People who, especially with content writing, it's like people are like, whoa, I'm not going to write nothing. Forget it. No. Not me. I'm not going to write nothing. And it takes, I would really encourage you to wake up and just for your first sight, if you've never done this before, you need to sit down and write these out yourself. It's not that hard. It's about just focus and just, literally spending maybe 20 minutes and just writing out some good articles. It's well known, Google has algorithms right now that are able to look at the quality of content and then judge whether real people would find those content of any value. So you need to have good shit out there. I mean, that's just the matter. And so, homepage on that, you need to write that your own homepage yourself. As far as I'm concerned, you need to do that a good, 5-10 times. And then you're qualified, in my opinion, to then train someone else how to do it properly. Okay. But then, then you got to vet them. You got to make sure that they know you got to check against their background and their material, that kind of stuff. All the regular HR stuff a real business would do. Okay. This isn't like, just hire somebody for $3 or $4 an hour and then just go and coast off it. That's not reality. We need to wake up, folks. But recommended places on here that you can get kind of done for you kind of services. You always get what you pay for. You want quality stuff. TextBroker, GoToMedia, and iWriter. What I like about iWriter and TextBroker both is that if you don't like the article, you don't have to pay for it necessarily. You can request to have it rewritten either by the same writer or somebody else. Okay. But just keep in mind, quality is everything these days. We can't get away with spun content. We can't get away with crappy content. Google wants to provide, and some of the other searchers, good results for the people who get on there. That's how they survive. Okay. So anyways, enough about that. I can go on for a lot longer about VAs and stuff like that, but that's just the reality of it. Okay. And, I'll save it for another time about more specific details about what you can do with your VAs and your training and stuff like that. But please remove from your mind that you just go out and hire somebody for a few bucks an hour and they're going to run your business, because that's just not reality. And I want everybody to wake up with that. Okay. So when designing a lead gen site, shouldn't we include a unique selling proposition that differentiates ourselves from competitors, other than just having a phone number on that? Another great question here. Let me grab a drink. That's another great question. I appreciate that, whoever sent that in. Yes, it depends on the niche, and this is where you need to look at, all the numbers are working out, right? You got your numbers according to module 1. Everything's lining up and you got, okay, this is great. I think I got my 2 niches nailed down. Now is really the time to start entering in your keywords into your main cities that you want to start out with. And just looking at what are the existing sites that are up there. Open them up, look at them, study them. What are they doing? What are they offering? What you'll notice in some niches is they will be really price sensitive. So they'll be kind of a price war with other people. It'll be like, you can come and get this for only, $4.99, or you can come and get this particular service for $69 or whatever. And if you start to see that consistency among your different marketplaces, then you need to reshape and possibly rethink about that niche that you're going to get into. The way that I teach this and the way I encourage this is this: you want this to be as scalable as possible. So if you notice that in 10 or 15 cities that there's a lot of little price war going on, maybe not all sites, but you notice on the AdWords that there's quite a few. This guy's going $59 for a house call, or this guy over here is going $69, and you see that again and again, then you probably need to change the message of your site and your meta tags and your homepage so that when people land there, that it can be as scalable as possible, but yes, be in alignment with that kind of message that's out there. And that would look like something like, we guarantee the lowest price out there will beat or match any competitor type of message. See, that will easily align with any marketplace. That way you don't have to be stuck with a certain price point. And that would be the best way to approach that. So that would be kind of your unique selling proposition. If you get into other markets and all the numbers match out and you start looking at, the competitors in the Google 3-pack and then the first 10 competitors on the page, and you notice that pretty much everyone's got like some kind of form to fill out to like get an estimate or something like that, then you really need to ask yourself, you know what? This is a different kind of price point, kind of marketplace. In order to be competitive in this marketplace, I need to also offer a similar kind of form and have some type of price spit out at the end of it, something like that. So then you kind of need your ask, and then that's going to become kind of your unique selling position. But other than that, your general unique selling proposition should, if it's not a price sensitive market, will be you're answering the pain point. Okay, in your videos, in your script, in your wording, you're answering the prospect's pain points. You're the solution. Okay, so if you're in a bail bonds niche, then all your wording is going to be how you're going to get that loved one out of jail as fast as possible. We know this is a confusing situation. We'll take care of this as fast as possible. Just give us a call. You're going to be addressing those pain points. If you're in an emergency type of situation, maybe it's an emergency dentist, then you're going to be addressing those issues. Hey, no matter what you've got, your pain right now, we understand how you feel. We're here ready to take care of you. Get that painful toothache taken care of. Because just imagine yourself. I've been in that situation before where this is years ago, and I didn't have job or medical care, but I've had an enormous tooth. I remember it was so horribly bad that I almost couldn't walk. The pain was so bad. And so you have to kind of imagine yourself in that situation. You want to address those concerns. So that's how I would address that. And I appreciate the question. It's a very good question. Lets me know you're thinking. Okay. When selecting a niche, should we focus more on emergency niches, such as emergency dentist, 24-hour pet clinic, water damage, etc., or have you seen a lot of success with non-emergency niches? I'm not in any emergency niches myself, and I've been successful, so I can say yes, you can definitely be successful outside of those niches. I'm not quite sure where that idea came from. You have to be kind of worried about that. I mean, one of the challenges with emergency dentist is that a lot of dentists, quite frankly, work really hard, and they're not in a position to offer emergency dental care. And so a lot of them don't even want those kind of leads, okay, especially after hours. Like, no, I'm done. I'm going to my kids' soccer practice, and then I'm relaxing and reading the newspaper, and then I'll get up tomorrow morning and I'll be full on in the office then. So that's not necessary. That's not the emergency type stuff. Like I need it now is not the key ingredient to being successful in this. What's the key ingredient is looking at the numbers. Are there enough searches? Is there enough demand? Are there enough people that want these leads? Is there a high cost for the leads? These kind of things. Okay. Then yes, that's what you need. And that doesn't always need to be emergency or we need it right now. Okay. Is there a recommended maximum for cities in a master domain? So for those of you who don't know what a master domain is basically where you have one domain and you're ranking that domain for 10, 20, 15 cities. Okay. It's really a powerful method. And there's a certain tipping point after 4 or 5 cities. It's really easy to start ranking cities 7, 8, 9, 10 because your site has gained so much trust and authority along the way. It just kind of makes sense. But is there a recommended max? Yes. I would say, look, if you're looking into a niche, particularly if you're outside the U.S., I would really encourage you to look into the U.S. And the reason is because it's such a large marketplace, and it's a good place to where when you find a good niche, you can easily find 10, 15, 20 cities. So because you're going to have to do the same. You don't want to, and this is the way I used to run my business. I'm talking purely from experience here, is that you don't want to, look at a niche and then rank one domain for that one city. You'd rather gain some kind of credibility for that and then gain for the same niche off of the same domain in another city, do a little bit more work, but not as much as you did in the first city, right? And then the third city you go in, right? So it's just like www.mysite.com/San Diego, mysite.com/Houston. You're moving on to cities, and then by the third, fourth city, it just gets a little bit easier because your site has so much authority. And the way that if you look in module 3, the way that I teach backlinking those sites, interlinking those sites with your posts. And I'm just pulling up here the site structure on 3. I just added a different module in there. So for the current members on that, on module 3, I added a 6th video, and on that I go over the not only the master domains, but the master domains where you have, it's a little complex maybe for this call, but you have multiple groups of keywords per city. So like for plumber, for example, like plumber San Diego, plumbers in San Diego, plumber San Diego, these kind of things, that really warrants one page, okay, in order to rank that. Fairly competitive marketplace, by the way. And then another keyword group, which would warrant a separate home page for San Diego, would be drain cleaning. Okay, so there's variations of drain cleaning, but that would require really a second page. And then a third home page for San Diego would be the heating and cooling niche. No longer can you rank one page for like plumbers in San Diego, heating and cooling in San Diego, and drain cleaning in San Diego. You can't do that anymore. And so I've got a whole mind map, and I've gone through some examples of, when you actually search in the search engines for, like plumber San Diego, you see the sites that come up, and then you look for drain cleaning in San Diego, completely different sites show up. Okay. And then you look for, either air conditioning or heating and in San Diego, and completely other different sites set up. Yet also the same root domains show up, but they have different pages for that area. And that's my point. Anyways, so the recommended number of cities on that, you're going to do the same work. You might as well gain momentum on it. I would say at least 15 cities. So, you've done your research, that, hey, for your niche, 15 cities in the U.S. is going to work. So you can hang them off of one domain. You're going to gain a lot of momentum, especially after the 4th, the 5th city. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. And the problem with using that method in other countries around the world is that they don't have 15 or 20 cities that you can do it in. And so that's why I'd highly recommend you to do it in the U.S. And hey, I'm not in the U.S. None of my team is in the U.S. So if you're not in the U.S., don't worry about it. It's okay. You're offering something of extreme value and unique value that no one has ever heard of. I guarantee you. They're getting all these calls like, oh, we'll promise you SEO, we'll manage your Google AdWords. They're getting all this stuff on here. It was like, where they got to put money up front, they got to invest and wait, and you're like giving them instantly what they've always wanted. Okay, so don't worry about accents or stuff like that. You really don't need to. Okay, so here we go. Well, what's this? While researching cash for cars, San Diego. So this is in a module that I taught in module 1. So while researching cars for cash in San Diego, you said you can probably find some other keywords too to go along with these, maybe some more that might be a little more specific to the San Diego market. My question is, does this mean that you would have those keywords only in San Diego area or in all cities? In other words, do we customize our city for each? Do we customize our keywords for each city? Good question, and apologize if there's any confusion on that. So, no. What I was trying to express in that training video was I was going through it rather quickly. Although some people comment in the Facebook group how easy it was that I found those niches. But I was going through it really, really fast. But at the same time, I wanted it to be like a look over my shoulder so you could also get kind of a real feel about what it takes to research a good niche. So in my efforts to do that, I was kind of going through quickly, and I just expressed that, hey, you probably want to explore a little bit more. Be like a curious George, right? And go through. Don't just be satisfied with the current keywords that you found. Go look at the other AdWord groups that the Keyword Planner offers, and you might find another niche. You might find another sub-niche. You may discover that niche also does something else. There's all kinds of amazing things that you can do. You can discover through that. So don't just stop short at what I did during a 10 or 20 minute video of look over my shoulder. Spend a little bit of time just poking around. Hey, did you miss anything? What else? What other clues is Google going to give you? That's really all that I was saying on that end of it. And by no means should you want to look at this as scalable, and you want to grow it as quickly as possible. So in no means do you want to have like completely different keyword groups for different cities. You want to have the same keyword groups for every city. You want to have the same template, the same design, everything for every city for every niche. Okay, it wants to be scalable, and it wants to be the same. You want to stamp it out for the cities. Okay. All right, so here's another great question. We've been getting a lot of questions about this. So hosting considerations. So only log in from the proxy to buy the hosting. And this is where in module 2 where we go over basically how to blend in with the locals. Or do you just use the proxies when you log in and install the WP? So let me address that. And I think there's another question on here where I address it better. But anyways, you want to, when you're looking at hosting, you can get any hosting you want. If you've already got some shared hosting with GoDaddy or Bluehost or HostGator or whatever, just go ahead and use that. That's perfectly fine. Because what's going to happen, and I show this in, I'm just looking on the site now. I think it's on 3, the site structure. No, 4, which is we get into anchor text. Anchor text, and we first start with a domain. So before you look at when you're looking at, you figure out your niche, now it's ready to buy a domain. You can buy a domain, just log in whatever hosting you've got. And then I go into detail and I give some examples of when you log into, I do it with Namecheap as an example, and GoDaddy. And every hosting provider, every domain provider has these features. You can set up your register for a different name and address and phone number and email than the billing. And it's very common because many businesses out there offer the service of SEO or we'll build your site type of thing. We'll go out and buy your domain, and we'll buy it and we'll just bill it through us. But we'll obviously charge you more per month for it. But the register of it and who to contact will be under your information. This is very common practice. So there's nothing shifty about it. So I show you some demonstrations where I go through that with GoDaddy and how to set that up. So what you want to do is you can do that through any proxy that you want. It's perfectly fine. And through any regular hosting that you got. You don't need any special hosting for this. But then afterwards, when you actually go onto the site to make changes to it, get a Gmail account, do some local backlinks and stuff. You want Google to know that, hey, that website, it's you locally, wherever that is. That's really important for the trust factor. Google tracks everything. Okay, the data out there that they track is unbelievable. So don't think for a minute that these little stuff is just like, it's just kind of a little thing to do. No, it's really, really important. It just makes total sense that if you're first opening up in Houston, Texas, that every time you log into the site, you're logging in from Houston. You go to get a citation from Yellow Pages or Yelp, you're doing it from a Houston citation. Okay. When you go to sign up for a Gmail account, guess what? You're doing it from a Houston IP address. It just makes sense. It builds trust. And it's about building this fortress of trust with the citations, with the YouTube channel, with a Facebook business page, with backlinks locally from Houston itself. Okay, this all makes sense to Google. Okay, the days are long gone where you can just have someone log in from the Philippines and just start sending backlinks from some kind of educational or government site from wherever in the world. These are gone, and it's like when you think about it, it's like, duh, all of a sudden you've got a site which has a name like, Phoenix plumbers in PhoenixAZ.com. That's the domain name. And then everywhere it logs in is outside of Phoenix, and all the backlinks are coming from, these so-called EDU sites and government sites and stuff like this, and these wiki sites. It's like there's nothing local going on here. No one locally is logging in. No one locally is getting backlinks and interacting with the local community. It's just, it doesn't, anyways, our methods work, and plus they just make really good sense. All right. I sidetracked probably for too long there. Okay. So you mentioned that Host9, H9, which is Host9. I was a big fan of Host9 at one time, huge fan of Host9. But what happened is that, and I partly blame myself, because I was promoting the heck out of them, is that they were really taken over by private blog networks. So I would recommend, my recommendation is to stay away from them, okay, on that. But anyways, that's what happens. You share too much of a good thing, and it just gets exploited on that. So just buy small shared hosting packages, just anywhere. Yeah, just the hosting part for your first net site, just use your own, whatever. I assume everyone here's got their own hosting. Just add that site on. And then when you do, watch the video on, I should probably mention that video. Where is it? Is it module 3? Bear with me while I just figure out where I put that. I think it's in site structures, but I'm not quite sure. Meta tags. No, it's going to be the next one. Yeah, backlinking, because the backlinking we're going to start talking about there. Anyways, I'm not going to continue because I don't want to just pause for all this time. It's like a big dummy here, but there is a video in the current training that shows you step by step, and I go in and I show you how to buy a domain name under your niche, and how to do that, how to set it up, even though it's your own current account that maybe you've had for years. So it's really easy. You don't need to go out and buy separate accounts or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, when setting up a Google account, do you recommend alias names first and last? Yes, definitely. Just go to fakenamegenerator.com, fakenamegenerator.com, if you can't think of an alias name yourself, and that's what you want to use. And then that's going to be the name that you're going to use for the alias of the Gmail account, the Google Plus account, for that business, okay, for when you register the domain name. Okay. And so this question leads into those two. This is a really good question here. What order do you recommend the steps in? In other words, do we get the hosting first, or do we get a Google account? Do we secure the physical address location? Do we set up the verification of the kallzu number? So what things do we do? So here it is. It's the next slide. I went ahead and wrote these out. So the first thing you want to do, and this is kind of an order what it is in the training, is pick an address. And I teach two methods on how to pick an address in there. So, you pay attention to which one fits you, okay? So you pick an address, boom, that's your address. Then you're going to want to come up with an alias name, okay? Then you want to get a kallzu phone number. Then you get a Gmail account. Now at this point, you've got everything that you need. You got a name, you got an address, and you got a phone number, right? Name, address, and phone number. Boom, you're done. You're golden. At that point, you're ready to move forward, okay? And, oh, there it is. So you register domain. I teach that in Module 3, Video 3, okay? Module 3, Video 3. So that's the order, and it kind of makes sense, right? You need an address, you need a name, you need a phone number. And that's what you'd need to fill out. And you need a Gmail account, right? That's what you'd need to register for a domain name. And I show you how to register for a domain name even under your current account, but you use your alias name in here, okay? All right, so let's go on here. So I have a niche researched in my area with the cost per click is very high, around $41 on average. Other areas show between 9 and 14, okay? That's typical. The lowest revenue for the business owner would be around $300 a call, but will sometimes go for $4,000 or $5,000. So, that's a pretty big range. So the average has got to be somewhere in between there, right? So my question is on why we need to go for the 4X cost per click. I was thinking of charging $30 or so per call, even in my area with a high cost per click. Your advice? Okay, this is a great question. Okay, this is a really good question. So one of the criteria of looking at the niches that I recommend, and these are just criteria. And by the way, I don't think you'd ever find all the criteria that would work out perfectly. It's always going to be you're going to find like all the criteria but one will work out, or all of them will work except for one kind of works out, okay? That's just the way life is. The 4CP, so your average cost per click, so you take all your 4 to 7 keywords and your average cost per click, whatever that is, you take it times 4. Could you charge that much per call? And you profit and your client profits. If that question is yes, then what that will set you up to do in a future date, fairly easy with a lot of room for error because you're just starting out, would be that after you get your sites ranking, then if you want to layer on top of that Google AdWords to also send Google AdWords to your client and charge them along with your organic searches, right? But the Google AdWords is going to cost you money, right, to place those ads. So you need to have enough cushion in there, particularly when you're starting out, error cushion in there. And that's where the 4X comes in. So that, you're going to be footing the bill for that, that you're going to get enough calls, enough qualified calls, that you're going to be able to, make a profit. Okay. And one of the fastest ways to grow your business, although, it takes some experimentation with Google AdWords, and therefore it takes some startup cost, is that with Google AdWords, if you got it dialed in to where you really understand the marketplace, and then your Google AdWords campaign, you've got a really high click-through rate, you've got a really good quality page, people who click through it under Google AdWords hang around there for a while, at least 3 minutes or more, then you're going to get a really good Google AdWords quality score, and Google's going to reward you by reducing the price that they normally advertise. They normally kind of show the suggested bid on the Google AdWords or keyword planner. Let's say it's, $10 a click is what this suggested is. If you get all those things in alignment, which I just talked about, you can expect to pay around $5 or $6 instead. So around about a 40% discount, because it just makes sense for Google to do that because the people have voted. Okay, the people have voted that they like your ads because they click through your ads more than the other guys or gals, and they stay on your site for a good amount of time. So Google's like, this must be really good for our users. So we'd like to see more of you, and we'll reward you by giving you a less pay per click. Okay, so it's kind of a win-win. It takes a little bit of experimentation to get up to that. It takes some A/B splitting and stuff. But once you got it, here's the key. Once you've invested the money to do that and you got it down, then that same ad, okay, it has that high click-through rate, and the customers stay on your site, and Google rewards you with a low cost per click. Then that's going to work in 10, 20, 15, 20 other cities, okay, in the same country. And that's where you really scale really fast. But it does take some funds to do because you got to play around with that Google AdWords for a while. You got to be kind of tough for it. I've seen people shake at it and they're like, "Whoa! I just lost $500, which is nothing, by the way." I know that sounds. I shouldn't say that's nothing. It's a lot for a lot of people, but. They may, oh man, I just spent $500 on Google AdWords and for my pay-per-call business, and I lost $200 or whatever. That just hurts way too much. I got to back off, and then they just back off on that. But if you stay with it and you push through it, it can be a huge reward. So to leave that door open, if you want to do an ad and layer on top of that Google AdWords, then a good safe number to give you a lot of flexibility to make mistakes and screw up is a 4x. Okay, that's why I leave that there. Again, I probably rambled on too long for that, but okay. If I have several niches in the same city, can I use the same IP address if they are in the same industry, i.e. medical, home improvement, finance, or do I need separate IPs? Okay, so let's get this separate IPs, and because you have a separate IP address and a dedicated Firefox profile, because it's the profile that tracks everything. First of all, I don't recommend that you get into several niches in the same city. I recommend that you drill down deep in one and then take it and expand that out into many cities. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. But if you decided not to heed that advice and instead you went into one city or one state and you went into 2 or 3 different niches, it doesn't make sense you need to have a separate, you could have that same IP address, but you have to use that IP address, say for Houston, and let's say it's Houston and paintless dent removal. Then you log in to a separate Firefox profile and you use that Houston IP address. And then you log out of it, remove it, remove that browser, log into Firefox browser number 2 that is dedicated only for your emergency dentist niche in Houston. And then you could use the same IP address because a lot of people in Houston share the same IP address. But an emergency dentist is not going to share the same Firefox account as a dent removal, okay? And they're not going to share the same Gmail account. So how do you keep those separate? You have to have separate Firefox profiles, but you could have the same IP address in the same city because that makes sense, right? You tracking with me? Okay. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on. Is that the last? Oh, that's the last question. check the time here. So I've been on for an hour and 20 minutes. So pretty cool. My goal is with these is to not just for myself. I think you can obviously tell I can sit here and just ramble on for quite a long time. I enjoy doing this, but it's out of courtesy of everybody else and stuff, and the replays and stuff, is to try to keep these at an hour, just so it's like packed information. You get in and out, and you get on with your business on here. But we're up at an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat box and see what we've got going on in here. So, but one thing that's for sure is that when you send in your questions at webbyquestions@kallzu.com, that's webbyquestions@kallzu.com. When you send in your questions there, and we cut off 2 hours before the webinar, those are the ones I put on the slide. So those are the ones that I spend the most time in. And if we got extra time, like we're just going to make up some extra time here, we will go through these on here. So let's go ahead and dive into these. We got a lot of people on the call, so I want to respect that end of it. So thank you. Okay. Barry is in without labeling it. Appreciate it. Cool. Good. Okay, so it looks like a lot of people is kind of relating and kind of jiving and connecting with the first part of how we started out with. Appreciate that. So I'll continue that. Whatever's on my mind at that week, I'll share. Good stuff, David. Appreciate it. Okay, good. I'm just reading through these. I'll get to this. Really appreciate the teachings on here. Good. Still connected. Okay, great stuff. Okay, good. We'll get to the other questions. I want to make sure. Dennis, Hong Kong conference videos. You need to contact my support for that. That's not what we're going to cover in this video. We want to stay theme-based here, which is the kallzu and starting out on here, building your site, picking out your niche. So I want to say this. Your UPS is your promise, right? Yes, that's a great way to put it. So we were talking earlier, someone asked a question about your unique selling position, and that's really your promise. That's a great way to put it. Thank you, David. So that's your promise. That's answering the person's concerns, their pain points. That's your promise to them. So that's an awesome way to put it. And that's a really good way to kind of think about it. You look around your niches, you look around what the others are doing on that. And a lot of them are not going to answer the promise to the customer. They're not going to answer their pain points on that. But if you've got a niche where it's price point sensitive, you'd probably want to do a combination of your promise, answering their pain points, and guaranteeing that you would meet or beat any competitor's offer out there to keep yourself in the game. I got some separate viewpoints of that, but there's no time for that right now. Can your kallzu email track plugin allow for extra form fields so we can ask specific questions related to our niche through our plugin? Great question, Stacy. At this point right now, our kallzu email tracker, and that is, when you set up your site, the majority of people are just going to pick up the phone call. Or if they're on a cell phone with our theme, it's just tap to call. So the majority, 80%, 85%, depending on the niche, or even 90% are just going to call. But there is that 10, 15, 20%, depending on niche, that's just not how they shop. They don't shop by calling. They shop by filling out a form and asking questions. And so you're asking if we have a custom form in there for you. That's a great feature. If you could, please, Stacy, could you submit that to support.kallzu.com, my support desk? And I think it's a good feature. I've seen that come up a couple of times before, and my team's really talented. I know they could do something like that. So I think that's a great feature to have. So if you want it to come true, I'm just asking you, just contact our support, and I'll make sure when it comes through there, because any kind of requests for, will you accept Stripe or, something else besides PayPal. These kind of requests, we take them very seriously. We want to listen to what the users have, and those don't just get thrown to the, they don't just get thrown to the cyberspace, floor and swept away. We compile those, and then we kind of say, okay, are we getting a lot of these requests? Do these requests make sense that would benefit not just one person individually, but potentially the group as whole? And that's a feature that could benefit maybe not everyone, but I could see how it could benefit a lot. So please submit that, and we'll put that on the board for sure. A lot of dentists work 4 days a week. Exactly, Tom. Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about emergency dentists before, so they can do that. Yes. Okay. So David, anyone who's on the call and not on the current newer kind of training and software and all that kind of stuff, just contact the support at kallzu.com, and they can send you information about how you can come on board. Okay, so Bev asks in here, have you ranked in the automotive niche? What would be your target automotive services or sales? Yeah, I've been in the automotive niche on that end of it. I would, rather than, people always asking what would be a good niche to do on that kind of stuff. So it really, Bev, comes down to the numbers and the research and the data. Do you have enough searches? Are there enough cities that have enough searches for you? Is it fairly easy to rank a site in those areas? Do all these things align? And if they do, then it doesn't matter, what kind of niche it is. So I don't have any secret pocket of niches that are ready to go. It really comes down to the data, and we show that all in Module 1. If you follow through Module 1, it's pretty darn thorough. And then I offer at the end, if you've gone through all the end of Module 1, you've done all your hard work through there, you've filled out the Excel sheets, you've done everything, you've narrowed it down to 1 or 2 niches that you've done a lot of work towards gathering the data, a lot of thought process into it. We'd be happy to just send another set of eyeballs over it. I look at it and just kind of give you my feedback on that. So on that. How about subdomains? Subdomains work. We prefer to keep everything on the root domain and then just have additional pages. It kind of keeps the link juice and everything kind of more closely related, and the subdomains can kind of separate things up. Should I make a master domain homepage for the first city I intend to launch? Yes, you should. And every other city, and our cities, meaning the cities I'll have, meaning if someone does a search for that city, the homepage will come up. Yes, Tom. So basically what Tom's asking here, on a master domain, if you start out with, you get, and don't get a spammy root domain. Those are really bad. They used to work fine. The algorithms changed, so you just don't do it anymore. But you've got something like the 24-hour tooth doctor. Okay, so that would be emergency dentist. Instead of putting emergency dentist, you put 24-hour tooth doctor domain. That'd be a good domain for that. And then that first root domain, then you set your home page, your static home page, as whatever city you're going to start in. And then your next city that you start in is just simply / San Diego. Don't put San Diego emergency dentist or something like that. Just put the city name. From your content that's on the page, Google will figure out what you're for. Don't try to shove it down Google's throat, what you're trying to rank for, because they will just go, oh, you're just another SEO marketer trying to game the system, and they're going to penalize you, okay? Just follow the online, follow the on-page guidelines that we set out. And really, you're just putting your keywords. You got 4 to 7 keywords. They're all very similar. You're just trying to get them in there once. You're not trying to get any more. You make it sound natural, good content. You're not trying to overstuff it or anything. Google will figure it out. You just got one keyword on there that you want to rank for in that content. And with the other related keywords that are on your homepage, Google will figure it out. It's pretty smart. They're going to figure it out. This is what you need to rank for. This is what our users, if they're looking for, we want to show them this site. Okay. I noticed that both Amazon and Google are getting into the home service business. I mean, Google and home services and Yelp and Yellow Pages, they all have been, right? Have you noticed the SERPs, have they become an issue with your niches yet? They haven't. You know, like whenever I see Yelp or Thumbback or anything like that, especially when they're ranking up in position number 1, 2, and 3, that's a clear sign it's going to be really easy to rank, because Google doesn't have anything of good quality. They feel like Yelp is a better quality than what some of the other local services are. So that's why they're showing that. And you can clearly see that in some of the examples that I've given. And you can clearly see that yourself if you just, you get a Majestic free plugin tool and you look at the root domain, you look at the trust factor. You want something easy to rank for is a trust factor of 10 or less, and then the root the root IP referring domains. Really the core domains that are given the link backs back are 30 or less. That's gonna be super easy. And in situations like that, there's always 3 or 4 Yelps or Thumbbacks and stuff above those kind of other listings. Okay, good questions. Can we have one master domain with cities in different countries? No, I have not experimented with that, so I can't give any advice on that. I can certainly attest to a master domain in one country for sure. Works really powerful. There's that tipping point around 4 to 7 cities. You've done the work. It's going to take work. It's going to take a while. You're ranking on page 1, not particularly position number 1, but page 1. You got good trust factors in. You got this fortress of trust around you, and you're ranking in 4 to 5 to 6 cities. Then the next city becomes pretty darn easy to rank for. But to do that, when you step outside of a country into another, I have no experience in it, so I cannot comment. If different keyword groups work better for different cities, would you do multiple home pages for all cities to rank in the keyword groups? Okay, so good question. And what I would refer you to is, what is it? I think it's module 3. I'm just looking right now. I just put in a 6th one in this evening. Yes. Okay. So module 3, video 6, just put in there the last couple of hours. I go over I address your question basically. So check that out there. Okay. Let's move on here. You have over 3,000 websites in Paper Ninja. Do they still rank? Yes. And they still produce calls? Yes. How many niches? That's 2 niches. So let me explain how some people have kind of done the math and kind of explained this out. So my company is gone really deep in 2 niches. Okay. This is something I haven't shared yet. So this is something completely brand new. And this is something that you can do later, but right now you don't even need to be thinking about, okay? Because you're not ready to think about it, okay? But when I share this with you, you're going to get a huge aha light bulb moment. It's going to go off and you're going to go, oh, yeah, now I get it. So here we go. So we've delved really deep on 2 main niches in basically every English-speaking country. In every English-speaking country. And in every major city. Even the smaller cities with a population of 100,000, even those. And so let's just think about this for a second. Let's say that we're very profitable in Houston under a certain niche, and we're ranking position number 1. And we already know it's proven, and we've already got clients, right? So this is a key takeaway. Whoever attended this webinar or listened to the webinar is going to walk away with something huge right now. Doesn't it make sense to then open up another website for Houston? I mean, why just limit yourself to one? Open up another one. Put it on a different hosting. use a different Firefox profile, use a different IP address, but locally, and just repeat it. Now you got 2 properties ranking for Houston. They look different. Everything's different. You even have a different phone number on it, but it can still point to wherever you want. Now you got more leads coming. It's already a proven market. And from there, why not add another one? Okay, you see what I'm saying? Look, we've been enormously successful with just one site ranking very high, at least in the top 3, even frankly at the bottom of page 2 and bottom of page 1, sometimes the top of page 2, depending on the niche. Why not add more properties there? You already know it's profitable, so you know the money you're going to invest to do it is well worth it. You've already got clients willing to buy the leads, so why not just rinse and repeat? Okay? So that's how we have so many websites and so few niches. Okay? I'll freak your mind out maybe a little bit more. With Google AdWords. If you got a Google AdWords campaign that's working really well, Google doesn't allow you to do 2 campaigns at the same time for the same niche, for the same keywords. But if you got a Google AdWords campaign that's working really well, and you got sites that are working really well there, why not open up a different Google AdWords account? Different credit card, and just slightly change it up a bit. It's not exactly the same, but it's going after the same group because you already know it's profitable, right? Okay, so that's how that's done. Huge. Okay, if you have a master domain, do you need different proxies for each of the included cities or just one local proxy for? Okay, so this is a good question about the proxies. So when you're starting out with the proxies, my recommendation is that, if you start out saying Texas, you got a Texas proxy, you got a Firefox profile that you're only using for whenever you're doing any activity with that site and nothing else. And then you go to Austin. Makes perfect sense, right? Expand out to Austin. Then you go to Dallas, Fort Worth. Okay, makes perfect sense, right? It's going to take a little while to do that, so you spend some time creating a lot of trust. Okay, and then you expand out to another state, and you kind of follow the same process. Makes perfect sense that you would have the same domain name and same proxy. If you do it in that order of your growing out and expanding, this takes some time to do. But if you start out in Houston, Texas, and in one niche in one city, and then you kind of hop over and decide you're going to do maybe the same niche in a different city, then you're going to need different Firefox profiles and different IP addresses. I live in Toronto, Canada. Like Canada, by the way, just as a default. If I'm anywhere that's kind of politically tense, I always say I'm from Canada and pass off as that. I was in Turkey recently, and it's a really heated place next to Syria. Anyways, people ask me where I'm from. I say Canada because everybody likes Canada. Anyways, I live in Toronto, Canada, and the first location of a master domain is Toronto. Can I log into a WordPress all the time from Toronto without a proxy and then work on other cities? You could, if your proxy is already located in, just make sure that you have a dedicated Firefox profile, because that profile is going to be attached to a Google Gmail account, which then attaches you to everything that has to do with Google, right? Google Plus, Google Analytics, YouTube. Okay, so just you could do that. So the question is, again, if you live in a Pacific area, say Toronto, Canada, or San Diego or whatever. If you physically live in that area and that's your IP address and that's the area you want to start out with, great. Just do it in a different Firefox profile. Okay. Oh man, we got tons of questions here. Okay, so I'm starting to burn out here a little bit, so I'll go a little bit longer here, and then we're gonna wrap this up. So and so we can always look over to the next call, right? Okay, Gmail account. Do you use a personal name or the business name? Good question, and I cover that in the course, hopefully clearly. You want to try to, when you set up a Gmail account for your niche in your profile, your Firefox profile, try to get a Gmail account that's related to your brand name. So yeah, so if your brand name is Cash for Cars Guys, try to get that one, or try to get something close to it. It just makes sense. Is there more to Module 5 already? Module 5 is not completed. So let me just check. Yeah. Module 5 is not completed, so there's definitely more to Module 5. Should you have multiple Gmail addresses for each city? I think I've addressed that. No, you don't need it. If you start out in one city, in one state, and expand out within that state, and then keep going, it just makes sense that you're an expanding business and you're growing, and your headquarters were in, wherever you started. Okay, as long as you grow out that way, it makes sense. When is Google My Business Legals training? Drew. Okay, so the Google's My Business training, the Google Plus 3-pack training, that comes later. I thought I addressed that in a video, but let me address it right now. Getting into the Google 3-pack is not easy. And the methods that I share, it's kind of like with the Host 9. When I started talking about Host 9, and I even had a free course on using Host 9 for various things. And I think that contributed to Host 9 just being abused, and now we can no longer use it. I don't want the same thing to happen with the Google Maps. And if I release that information now, there will be no doubt in my mind that there will be people that will take shortcuts, because it's human nature. This is a really profound concept that everyone needs to realize, and how it affects every aspect of your life and your thinking and everything, because it's really deep. And that is, inherently our minds are hardwired to get the most amount out of the least amount. That's just how we're hardwired. Okay, you can't blame us. So when someone comes into the course and they already know the power of a Google Places 3-pack, and if they think they can get into it right away, they'll skip module 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 and just jump right into it. And guess what? They'll take shortcuts. And guess what will happen after that? They'll have some junky site which doesn't have any kind of trust authority. They maybe didn't even log in from the same IP address, blah, blah, blah. And they got some junky, obviously, site. It's like Google's like, what the fuck are you trying to do to us? Oh, alert. We got another hole over here, guys. We got another hole. There's spammers trying to get in over here. And then it closes it up for everybody. Look. You want to get in a Google 3-pack? Fine, I understand. You know what you got to do? You got to have a damn good site. You got to have a site with a fortress surrounded around it, with a Twitter account, Facebook account, citations, good local backlinks, good content, ranking. Okay, you got to have some good shit going on there. That's where it's going to take place, okay? So I don't want people abusing it. You're not even ready for it. Do you have a high quality site like what I've laid out? You couldn't possibly have one, because I haven't laid it all out yet. Okay. Have you submitted your module 1? Have you submitted your top 2 niches after exploring 20 to 30 of them, 60 of them? Probably not. Then you're not ready for it. The Google pack on there is not for some easy push button, let's do this overnight, get easy money. No, I've never promoted that I've never promoted from that platform. Okay. So that's not what we're about. Okay. Do you have an offer to present? Lisa, yes. Yes. I mean, if you want to get in, you want to take a look at us. Sorry that would take so long to get to such a question on this end of it. I will type it in here in the chat box. And yeah, it's too long to wait for that. Okay, so if I log into my browser on Chrome using using the browser that Chrome allows you to in incognito, will that suffice? No. Toby, it will not. As opposed to creating different browsers, it will not. Incognito is a bunch of incognito bullshit. If you type in incognito and search around, Google and everyone else will know everything about you. Your buying habits. You went to the doctor's sites to look for herpes medicine. They'll know everything about you. You went to Amazon to shop for, sweatpants, and then all of a sudden you're going to get retargeting ads for that kind of stuff. No, incognito is a bunch of baloney. No, there's no shortcuts in this, guys and gals. No shortcuts. Okay, you're looking for shortcuts and fast ways. You look in the wrong place. Follow the steps here. You got to get the IP address. I think it's $250 a month on that for a dedicated, good quality local IP address. Boom, you're set. You got to do it that way. It's just trust me on that. What is the best way to get your site to rank with SEO? Whoa, Catherine, what a loaded question. Okay, so I will answer the best that I can, but understand this is like a huge question, which is going to cover several modules in the course. Number one, this is something no one talks about, is getting local backlinks. Okay, so if you've opened up in San Diego, how do you get backlinks? And say your niche is something to do with automotive, how do you get other automotive backlinks within San Diego to backlink back to your site? This is huge. This is what real sites do, and this is what Google loves. Okay? So I talk about that. So that's a good way to rank. Another good way to rank is to just totally give up on the whole, page rank stuff, and you're looking at quality backlinks. And so what does a quality backlink look like? It looks like this. Google keeps track of they have a backlink profile for every site. Okay, so this is where you're either fucked or you're fine. But you got to understand that exists. Google for your website has a backlink profile. It looks at a lot of different things. It looks at the quality of the link coming to your site. And they look at it and they go, okay, is this coming from a site that is somewhat related to this niche? Is it, this is an automotive site? Is it coming from an Indy 500 site? Is it coming from a Mustang enthusiast site? Where's it coming from? It should be coming from somewhere similar, right? Or somewhat similar. What's the anchor text? Because Google's got it pretty much figured out what natural anchor text would look like. Natural anchor text does not look like, towing Baltimore or towing in Baltimore. Okay, that's not natural anchor text. Okay, natural anchor text is branding. It's click here. Okay, is the anchor text coming from within contents? There's a nice, good quality contents. Is it coming from within it? That's higher quality than just a backlink from kind of a blank page, basically. Okay. So those are kind of quality links. Then Google also looks at that particular site of where your backlink is coming from. Where else are they backlinking to? Are they backlinking to all kinds of different kind of offline type sites? Ooh, spam. Hello. Or are they backlinking to, other relative type of automotive sites? Oh, okay, that's cool. That all looks in alignment. Okay, so very common sense when you think about it. Very common sense. And very easy to detect gaming the system. Okay, when you think about it. Good question. Alrighty. I'm going to kind of skip through these here. Get verification with no postcard. No postcard. Drew answered. I think I answered that earlier. You got to create some quality sites, which is what we're teaching on here, in order to make that happen. And I'm not going to release that sooner because I've just seen it happen. I've shared before my niches, and then what happens? 6 months later, everybody and their dog is in the same niche I'm in, and it's totally ruined. Okay, so I know human nature. It's out there, and it's fine. Human nature is, I will take the path of least resistance. I will get the most for the least amount. That's just human nature. I totally get it. So I'm not going to feed into that human nature on that end of it. On your content, when do you okay, I'm going to try to read this correctly on here. Okay. So, Valerie asking here, on your content, what do you do differently for the different locations? Do you have different information about different locations? Because there's only so much you can write about plumbers in San Diego versus Atlanta. I totally agree. That's one of the challenges. But it's also part of the algorithms. And we've studied this stuff, not only with our sites, but with others out there. I've got 50 or 60 Roto-Rooter sites that are not ranking even close on page one. It's a multi-million-dollar company. Why? Because they got exactly the same content. Okay? That's the algorithm. That's the game we play with. And unfortunately, yes, we have to have different content for each of our home pages. And the creative human spirit, we've got to come up with a different way to write a plumber page. It's just the way it is. That's the game we play. That's the rules Google set, okay? So we cannot use the same. It used to work wonderfully. It was like beautiful. Because Google, the way the algorithm used to be was, hey, you know what? This one is applicable to Houston, and even though you got exactly the same site for San Diego, it's two different IP addresses, so it's not duplicate content. We're not going to penalize it, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's not that way anymore. I'm sorry. So that's the game we play, so you got to do it. Can we use spun content? No. Stay away from spun content. You have to stay away from spun content. Unless you've got some kind of incredible spinning content that reads and spits out really good content. That would be the only exception on that. Could you share more about the lead selling process and how to automate it? When you're ready for it, I will. Right now, the group that we brought in is not ready for it. What I can tease you with right now is that what we're offering business owners is a 7-day free trial, and we're going to offer it to all of the local business owners, and we're going to name the business owners that they'll know that we're contacting next. That's exact same day, that exact same hour. And if they want to capture those free leads on that end of it, we just need the permission to do it. They need to go to a certain URL and check it out. And when they go to that URL, they're going to get a video explaining step by step how the process works. You know, that we're not looking for tire kickers, that, you know, after the, you know, we're looking for a long-term relationship. You know, if you're just here just to seek a couple of free leads, just avoid us because it's just not going to work out. We'll just cancel it right away. That's not what we're looking for. And that how we're a better, more efficient solution than your other marketing things, but yet we can't replace them. We're just in addition to them. And we're not like SEO where you got to wait. We're instant, obviously. And we basically reverse out any kind of risk to them because we know the value of what we're providing. So that explains everything to them. So we don't have to do an explaining on the phone, no kind of selling pitch, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Cool, good stuff. How do you access the current membership site? I seem to be an older version of PayPal Ninja. If you're an older version of PayPal Ninja and you want to get on the newer version, contact the support.kallzu.com, and we will help you out. Yes, there's always a replay. Recording's still working. I mean, minus technical difficulties, but the replay, yes, we throw up the replay in the members area. Okay, so Christine asks here, do you highly recommend mobile businesses? Like mobile, able to move around mobile, but is mobile absolutely necessary to succeed? No, it's not. Again, as long as the numbers, the data, as I teach in Module 1, work out, you're totally golden. You're perfectly fine. Selecting a niche where the niche goes to the consumer has some advantages to it versus the consumer goes to the niche office location, has some benefits to it, but it's not a deal breaker. Okay. Do you monitor your ketosis? Someone always asks ketosis in these. Yes, I do. And I monitor it through, I just got a really cool tool. Anyone's interested, I got it right here. And this is by a friend of mine this is a really cool story, by the way. It's by a personal friend of mine in Switzerland who was battling cancer. And one of the possible cures for cancer, if you're ever in that situation, hopefully you won't be, but unfortunately most people will, is being in a state of ketosis basically suffocates and doesn't feed the cancer cells. So it's a really good state to be in if you just found out you have cancer or if you want to be prevented of cancer. The problem is that to try to monitor whether you're in ketosis or not, the current ketosis sticks are really not that accurate. They really are only accurate for like the first 10 to 14 days. After that, they're really just useless. The ones you pee on and you look at the colors on them and it tells you whether you're in ketosis. So being an engineer, he developed his own ketosis thing where you actually blow into it. So it measures the ketosis on your breath, and it attaches through a USB cable to your computer, and it goes to the software system and it measures it. It's the most accurate on the market. And if you're interested in that, it's about $150 less shipping, and it's called Ketonix, KETONIX, KTNIX, and not very well known. I got a gift sample and very thankful for that. And yes, I mean, I play around with my macros, and I just find, I'm all about performance, and how can I make the most of every single day in everything that I do. And so I'm not just looking at like physical performance and sleep, but mental performance. How do I have the highest mental performance humanly possible? And I find that for me personally, staying in a state of ketosis just keeps my mind just totally alert and just like, it's just the best state ever. I just can't believe I haven't found this out earlier. I mean, for example, today, and this is what I do every day. I get up. I got up around 7 a.m. I just have coffee, a little bit of fat, good fats in my coffee, basically bullet coffee. And didn't eat a damn thing until right before this call. Literally right before this call, until 5:30 is when my meal was ready. And I worked out beforehand. So fasting. Feeding your brain good fats, omega-3 through grass-fed butter, some coconut oil throughout the day, and lots of water. Go work out. You go work out. At that point, I've been in ketosis. I've been in a fasting state for 16, 17 hours. And then, studies are clear, it increases your testosterone, your HGH. There's all kinds of benefits to that. By fasting that long and then working out and exercising, and then having your first meal there, it's pretty amazing. So it's not easy to get into that state, and this is totally off the topic. It's not easy to get in that state. When you start, you had your whole life on carbs, bread stuff like that. When you wean yourself away from that stuff, you just have to play around with it. But you have to give yourself enough time to enjoy that state without the mind craving and the body craving the previous self. So you can actually appreciate it and make a good judgment. Am I functioning better here? If you're not, that's fine. Everyone's different. I totally get it. All right. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to kind of randomly do this, and I'm going to wrap up in 4 minutes here. Totally dominate page 1 with different assets is a gold mine. It is, David. I'm glad you picked that up. It most definitely freaking. I've never shared that before, by the way. Okay, I was double billed by PayPal. David, we're sorry about that. David, just contact my support. That's what they're for. They're there 7 days a week. The feedback we've been getting is phenomenal, so I know they're doing a good job. It's just a support.kallzu.com, support.kallzu.com. They'll take care of you, so there's no worries there. My support is fully functional, aware, and they just know everything about the business. So we're really committed to that. So, okay, good, Jeff. Awesome feedback. Appreciate that. Are you sending the second and third sites to your niche at the same city, different clients? Yes. It depends on the client, but most clients, are ready and willing, if they're good businesses, to be able to accept more leads. So when we build up a second site in that same niche, and they're a different profile, different host, that kind of stuff, different theme, different look and feel, then yes, they more than ready to accept those leads. If not, then we just go out and find another client. We might do a round robin at that point, or a multi-call out. So those options are available there. Come visit Canada anytime. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate that, but I'd rather visit Barcelona. Okay. Cool. I mean, two of my really probably, I got a lot of favorite cities, but Vancouver, BC, one of my most favorite cities in the world, Canada. And then probably going down the coastline there, down south. Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, San Diego. They're all so uniquely different and wonderful. But that whole part of the world is amazing. Please explain what the Firebox profile is. Sure, Steve. Basically, we want to create, and this is in module. I forget what the training is in the module, so I'm just looking right now. But I believe this is in module 2. Yep. Yeah. Module 2. When you start creating a local niche and local niche site, you want to appear like you're from there. Like, voila, I'm from Houston, and I've got a Firefox profile that's from there. I've got a Gmail account that's from there. My IP address, my login is always from there. Everything's congruent, right? Congruency. Congruency is not only important in paper lead business. It's important in life. You want to be congruent. Whenever you meet people or you present yourself to the world, you want to be congruent with who you are, because you can't keep up a false self. You have to be congruent. This is me. This is who I am. This is who I express myself. This is my viewpoint of the world. And the same thing with creating a site. You want to be congruent. It's like you're not like logging in from Miami all the time and getting your backlinks from all kinds of other weird places that have nothing to do with San Diego. You want to become local. You want to blend in like the locals, and you need a profile to do that, a different profile. I explained how to do that in module 2, and you want to have an IP address locally from there. It just makes sense on here. I don't know anyone else who's talking about this stuff. This is really important. You do the devil's in the details. You do all this little stuff that I'm teaching. your sites are going to rank, whereas maybe before you've tried this or you've dabbled in it, it's like your site was always on page 10 or something. Okay. It's just because it didn't make sense to Google. Google's getting smarter and smarter every day. And one thing, when I release this other module, I think it's module 5 or 6, the other thing that's a huge rate-making factor that like no one, or very few talk about, is that you want to have people locally searching for your brand name and then finding it on Google and then spending like 3 minutes on your site clicking around. Google tracks this stuff. And it should be of no surprise, especially if you've had any experience with Google AdWords. They track the same thing. It's like, okay, so people click on your site and they spend some time on your site. Cool. We'll reward you with offering you less per click and pushing you higher up in the position. They do the same thing organically, okay? So how do you do that? No one talks about that. You see, the days are gone where you just pop open a domain name that's keyword rich and you throw some backlinks from wherever and you just kind of hang out. No, Google's tracking who's visiting your site. Are they visiting it locally? How much time are they spending there? Because that's the ultimate vote. You can kick ass on someone who, this is a strategy I'll teach later, but you can totally kick ass on someone who, they got, higher trust flow than you. They got maybe some higher quality backlinks, hence, they got higher trust flow. It's a direct relationship there. They got more age than you. But guess what? All of a sudden, you got more searches and more people hanging out at your site than they do. Guess who's going to move up above them? Okay? So it's more than just backlinks these days. Okay? You got to be smart. It's a war out there. You got to be super ninja about this kind of stuff. Then you can take that same kind of method and use it for good or evil. Evil. So what kind of evil would you use it for? Well, I'm not promoting this. I'm just saying you could do this. Is that somebody on page 1, you could have some local people go and check out their site and then bounce off really quickly and then go to yours. Go to their site, bounce off really quickly, and then go to yours and hang out there. Google looks at it and goes, oh, wait a minute. Your site's clearly a better option according to the masses. We better move yours up to the top. And that's how you push your competition down the field. More on that later. Cool. Okay, so if you're brand new to this, mostly we have members on here, but if you're brand new, I see some brand new people. If you're brand new to this and you're like, hey, this sounds really cool, I'd like to get to know this more, I'd like maybe to become a part of this or learn more about this, I'll put a link in right now. Right now I can't type and talk at the same time because I'm too tired. Okay, so I just put that in there. I'll just continue on here. Okay. So much excellence. Info as always. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good. We'll do. I'm doing. Okay. What's a good reference info for getting in maintaining ketosis? Kind of an off website. I would say just Google it. There's going to be a lot of information out there. Just make sure that whatever you look into it, that maintaining ketosis is going to be consuming more fats than what you're used to doing. And so the fats that you consume, make sure they're high quality. Not all the sites out there emphasize that. It's really important. So it's basically, when you're looking at eggs, you want the wild, free range ones, and they should be really deep yellow. So those make sure they got the good omega-3s versus the ones that are not that yellow and they got too much omega-6s, which creates inflammation, which is not good for you. You want grass-fed beef which if you live in the States, it's a lot easier to get than where I am. I have to specially order it from UK. It costs me an arm and a leg. And then wild caught fish of any type. It's got to be wild caught. That's going to have the good omega-3s and very low omega-6s. The problem is that with any kind of commercialized type meats out there, no matter meats, poultries, whatever it is, because it's commercialized, it's going to have low omega-6s and high omega-6s, low omega-3s, high omega-6s, which are going to cause inflammation and just all kinds of health problems. And so those kind of fats are not good. So you gotta search out those. You can find, if you're in the States, God bless you. That stuff is so much easier to get there. That's one of the great things about the United States. Anyways, okay, so we're getting down to the bottom on here. Okay, so are you saying that we can't do agency SEO work for clients somewhere else in the world anymore? You can certainly do SEO work anywhere you want in the world, but the most effective SEO, and this is through going back and studying. I mean, taking the commercial license of Moz, of HREF that we have, and Majestica, and then looking at existing sites out there locally that are ranking and crushing it in multiple cities. They all have patterns to them, and their patterns are very clear. They have backlinks that are coming locally, okay? And then you can track those back. Where are they getting them from? Oh, okay, they're getting them from here and there and there. Okay, cool. We can do that. We can replicate that. These are really important. Okay, it's important factors to have in. It just makes sense. Google's they've been about it for years. They were way ahead of the curve. We're going to be all about local, and we're going to be so much about local that we're going to freaking drive around the world and take pictures of the local. What an ambitious drive that is! Holy smokes, that's amazing. And we're going to go out there and we're going to create algorithms to actually find other local businesses, and we'll create a local business listings for them. And we just ask that they come and claim it. I mean, that's how aggressive they are with this local business stuff. So if you want to be local, you got to seem like you're local. That's why the IP address and having a separate Firefox account, which tracks everything you do. So everything you do in that new Firefox account is to do with your business, okay? Really important to do that. So if you want to do more effective SEO work for other clients, and your client, you got a big client in Los Angeles, then for God's sakes, get a Firefox account and an IP address and only use that to backlink for them. And then use some of the things that we teach in the course here on how to get local backlinks on that. It's not the only source of backlinks, but it's really important to have those. What else we got here? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, good. Jim says he enjoyed the opening comments. My quote for the day: forgiveness is the best revenge. Forgiveness is the best revenge. I totally agree with that. Really powerful statement, by the way, and very hard to do. To be honest, the other form, the highest form of love for yourself and others is forgiveness too. It falls in the same line. Good stuff, man. Glad you like it. Glad you're jiving with it. Good. David says good. I get the local leak part, yet my IP address should be the problem. Shouldn't be. I get the local part, yet my IP shouldn't be the problem, should it? Nikki, it shouldn't be the problem as long as your IP address. I would see what you want to look at, particularly with the local IP, is it like you're like a local company engaging. Google talks about that, the engaging. You're engaging with the local newspapers. You're engaging with other local sites. Okay, you're an engaging part of the local community. Do you do that from somewhere else? No, you do that from where you are locally. So you should do that from a local IP address, and that's the point. Have you decided to do a membership site on business, personal growth, and your YouTube videos. Right now I'm kind of blending the both together. So this is what I'm doing. So that's it right here. Okay, a couple more questions, then we'll wrap it up. I enjoy doing these. Sorry, I go longer than I should. Does Google know when you're using a proxy or VIP? Great question, Jim. Google's not going to know when you follow the steps that I give. And that's going to the hooer.net/the extended version and testing out. You want to be 100% compliant, and they give you they'll tell you, usually when you start out you're at 60%, and they'll give you step-by-step directions on how to become 100%. That way they will not know. But most people blindly think, oh, I'll just use a proxy and Google won't know. Well, guess what? If you use JavaScript, what most people do, right? JavaScript gives away your true IP location, which basically totally voids any proxies that you use. A lot of people, 99% of people don't know this. And so we teach that. So if you do that, you won't worry about it. Awesome. Okay. Hey, ain't that nice? Okay. So we're going to, okay. Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Last question. And this is an off-topic question on there. Hey, that niacin thing that you're doing was perfect in my 50s. It's in the book called Clear Body. I didn't know that. Clear Body, Clear Mind. I'll definitely look that up. Clear Body, Clear Mind. I learned about it from Dr. Ewan and Dr. Maricola. So cool stuff. Got to get out there, spread that word. You got to get healthy. You got to get out there and do that stuff. You can't compartmentalize all this stuff. It just doesn't work, man. I know. I tried it for 41 years. It doesn't work. So adios. That's it. Peace. Appreciate everyone's time on here, and we'll have the recording up soon. Take care. Take actions, and adios. Bye-bye.